Previously on Implied Nerdity. But what's nice is you actually sound like yourself again. You don't sound like sexy, sultry Travis from the bookcast.
What if I want to stay sexy, salty Travis?
Salty Travis?
It just got weird.
Sexy, salty Travis sweats a lot.
That's
yeah.
disgusting. And he's coming slowly. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 9 of Implied Nerdity. This week we come one step closer to reaching double digits, and in honor of that we decide to celebrate by throwing the rules out the window. That's right, we have a fifth person on this week's podcast. It's the regular core four. It's Teresa, Jason, Jared, and me. And of course we also let Travis come back for one more go because we could all use a little more sexy, salty Travis in our lives. That being said, we got a lot of great stories this week covering everything from the SAG-AFTRA video game voiceover battle to the current Microsoft press conference and all of the fun stuff that they have to offer. It makes for a great conversation, so I'm going to let you get right to it. Enjoy this week's show.
Within this 10 minutes that we were talking, I still haven't read the first story. So, Justin, why don't you explain what the heck is going on? Or maybe even Jason could explain what's going on.
Calling in from Ice Station Alpha.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can tell you about it, but Jason's the one that's going to have to explain what's going on. Because apparently, the Telegraph, the 2 Antarctic bases they reported are being audited, U.S. bases. That's why we're not talking to British Jason. We're talking to American Jason. Heard that there was a huge alcohol problem fueling unpredictable behavior at these Antarctic research stations. Things like indecent exposure and fighting. Now, as I've come to understand it, Jason, it's just you and a couple chairs.
Well,
they have a drinking problem.
Are you in your own special station? Because according to this article, there should be 1,149 other people roughly at Ice Station Alpha.
They're all in his head.
It's a giant. Antarctica is a giant continent, Justin.
Okay.
So Ice Station Alpha is at a particularly remote location.
So Ice Station Alpha is not part of McMurdo Station or the South Pole Station.
No.
Is this like an Elon Musk thing? Or are you an independently
it's top
run
secret,
station? Man. Oh, well, good. I'm glad to know that it's so secretive. But yeah, no, apparently, it's a big problem at the U.S.
It's tough to
bases.
keep the chairs quiet. But no, I mean, well, so Antarctica is not part of any country, so there are no laws there, right? So, like, the scientists down there's a population of, 1,000 or so researchers and whatnot down there all the time. They do some crazy shit, I hear. I mean,
well, I imagine there's not a whole lot
naked, but
I imagine there's not a whole lot to do down there,
right?
So it doesn't really surprise me that some of them are resorting to alcohol to entertain themselves.
Well, the agency did say that alcohol can play a useful role in providing diversion.
Well, right, and like clearly no one is condoning doing your job while drunk, but
I mean, here's the thing. I'm just glad that valuable research is being done in Antarctica because I did not know prior to this that alcohol was a diversion from the pressure of work when used in moderation. These are the important scientific studies that are coming out of Antarctica, right?
Well, so like the Telegraph article links to the drug and alcohol policy for the British stations, and I didn't even read it. It's 12 pages long of single-spaced type, like...
It probably detailed. Says something to the effect of don't come to work drunk or drink on the clock.
I'm wondering what the Russian policy is, because they do mention that there's a Russian base. And I imagine the Russian policy is every desk has a bottle of vodka on it.
Yes.
You're in Antarctica.
Well, the part that I thought was interesting was it was just the last sentence and it was a throwaway, but I was like, wait, what? Because it was like the U.S. officials said the problem of excess drinking was less significant than the cultural divide between the scientists and contractors at the bases. Yeah. So they're like doing all this stuff for drinking, but apparently there's like gang wars down there. So I'm imagining like the Russian scientists and the Americans going at it like sharks and jet style.
Yeah, South Side Story.
Yeah.
Oh, I think what that actually means is a lot more depressing, that like the scientists with the PhDs and the contractors who like build the buildings the scientists are in don't get along.
Yeah, I could totally see that happening.
It makes me think of that 1970s prison study that they make you look at in every like psychology college class, where they had the people that were pretending to be the prisoners and the people that were pretending to be the guards.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me think of that study.
Stanford prison experiment.
Yeah, the Stanford prison
yawning,
experiment.
I'm sorry.
No, from now on it will be known as the Stanford prison experiment.
Thanks, Kermit.
No, I thought you were. I thought you were mocking it, Jason. Like,
no.
Oh, Stanford. Oh.
They think they're so cool
with their prison
experiments. Prison experiments.
No, but that's
I
what I
Station
thought
Alpha
they were
prison
talking
experiment.
about. Which is just you being held prisoner by a bunch of chairs.
Yeah, they're cruel. They don't feed you.
Oh man! Now, interestingly, they talk about the fact that there's going to be a problem possibly with the breathalyzers, not just because of what you had said, Jason, where it's a question of legality. Because yeah, it's a U.S. base in Antarctica, but Antarctica isn't part of the United States. So how do the laws apply? How do people's rights apply? Which I think is sort of weird because I guess this would be equivalent to an embassy, sort of.
No, because an embassy is in another country and nobody owns Antarctica.
But that's what I'm saying. You would think that they could just consider it that. But more importantly,
it's like space.
See, I would think less sovereign territory and more like whoever company is running that base has the law over that building.
But they wouldn't have.
But you couldn't give a company.
Well, not law per se, but company policy.
And it would would you say it would adhere to that the country of origin for that company?
Well, then the question is, if you're fired because of that company policy, can you sue in the courts back home to get your job
in the Antarctic courts?
Of course, it's just Jason and a penguin.
Oh, no, I was going to say, who would your peers be? A bunch of penguins?
Oh, I want to get sued in Antarctica now.
I'm taking it to the Supreme Court. It's like a polar bear.
a little Scalia penguin and a Thomas polar bear.
And there's a seal doing
Ruth Bader Sealsburg.
Yeah.
And their polar bears drinking a Coke.
This is the best fan fiction we've ever written, you guys.
But no, the thing I was going to ask was, they were saying that there's a chance that because of the high altitude, the breathalyzers might not work right. And it's because it's at a high altitude, perhaps that's part of the problem. That maybe they're just having like one beer, but because it's at such a high altitude, the alcohol has a much stronger effect.
That on Family Guy.
No, I'm not. What episode of Family Guy is that from?
Oh, where they climb Mount Everest.
Oh, I've never seen that episode.
It's real funny.
I mean, does altitude affect body chemistry like that?
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Yes. Have you ever been to Colorado?
No, I have not.
Oh. We should send you to Colorado and record how you feel.
Yeah, no, they do. They do. I recently watched
beer in Colorado and tell us what it's like.
I was watching a Try Guys thing about drinking a lot of beer, I guess, and like about tolerance. And part of what they were saying was that they had to take into account the fact that they were at a higher altitude at the time. So, not that they're like the scientific.
And as far as scientific advancement goes, as long as we brought up Colorado, I know it's not part of the story, but I do just have to mention it. Did you hear that there's a McDonald's in Colorado that got rid of its play place, like that playground area, and they replaced it with an area that has these special marijuana smoking pods?
Seriously?
Yeah. It's like a plastic pod that hangs from the ceiling. It doesn't go all the way to the floor, and you go under it. And you can bring your food with you and your weed. And when you're underneath that pod, there's a tube above you that's a special vacuum that goes up through the ceiling and out an exhaust fan.
You have to be lying to me right now.
No, it's absolutely true.
Well,
and
that's like Jetsons level stuff.
And you can smoke your weed in the McDonald's without bothering people who don't want to smell it or get a contact high or
contact highs are not a thing.
Yes, they absolutely are. I'm high right now.
Okay.
Because I came in contact. with marijuana.
I was like, with who? With me generally?
Yes. No, but yeah, you can, it allows you to smoke your marijuana in the McDonald's while eating your food and not bother anybody who doesn't want to be part of that experience.
What?
Yes. Jason is now.
Yeah, I was like, Jason, we'll see you later.
Yeah, we need to move Ice Station Alpha to Colorado.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Gonna apply for funding.
Or just get a McDonald's down there. Or better yet, a Taco
True,
Bell.
where there are no laws.
Yeah. Just build a Taco Bell on the base with those little pods.
Oh, there you go.
Jared, you're awfully silent.
Yeah, well, I don't know if my audio is working right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Jared, you're awfully silent.
I don't know. This sounds like some crap you made up on Reddit. Boom. Transition. Reddit. So Reddit, everyone knows Reddit. It is a public forum where people go on there and either do weird things or really cool things. So Reddit is kind of tired of people taking all their content and reposting it on their own website, on different websites. So they made up their own website called Upvoted, which is going to take a team, a dedicated team of 10 members who is it led by? Journalist and
Vicky
former
Chang.
MySpace editorial Vicky Chang. I don't know who that is, but they sound great.
MySpace had editorial?
Yeah, check her out on MySpace.
I didn't know that was a thing. So basically, they're going to search Reddit, find the best stories, the most interesting stories, the most popular stories, and they're going to put them on this site called Upvoted. Now, the difference is, instead of just reposting the stories, they're basically going to try to look into the stories, hopefully add a little bit more to them, try to verify them if it's something that needs to be verified. But it's a way for them to, instead of their content going to different websites, they can kind of keep it in-house and hopefully keep people coming to Upvoted instead of going somewhere else to check out that content.
I mean, is Upvoted going to be... So, I mean, yeah, because Reddit is obviously, they call themselves the front page of the internet, and they definitely have that issue where, you see the story on Reddit, you click it, and you immediately leave, and you go somewhere else. So is this like an attempt of Reddit to try to keep a lot of that traffic internal?
Yeah.
I guess I just feel like curating Reddit sort of defeats the purpose of Reddit.
Not really. I mean, Reddit is so huge at this point. Like, people need a place to go, and a lot of times you go to Kotaku or some other, Gawker site or close to that, and they're just reposting something they found on Reddit. Well, in this case, now people can just go to Upvoted, and they can get it directly, from the Reddit boards.
But the reason I go to Reddit isn't necessarily for the story itself. Yeah, I'm going to read the story because I want to make sure I'm familiar. I go to Reddit for the comments and the conversation. I like to see what people like, the Reddit threads where it's like shower thoughts, or Reddit threads where it's like, best fan conspiracy theory. I go for those things, and I also go for the comments on interesting articles. And I feel like having this
Upvoted doesn't have any comments.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I feel like taking that out just sort of makes this another boring. I mean, I would go to FARC before I would go to Upvoted.
Well, they all link back to the original Reddit post, so I mean, there's comments there, obviously.
I wonder if this is like an attempt to clean things up a little bit too, because I mean, Reddit's right up there with YouTube as far as like cesspools of the internet.
Really, you went with YouTube and not 4chan?
Well, they're both pretty bad.
4chan's not really comparable.
I would say...
So here's something...
Or maybe NeoGAF.
Yeah.
So here's something I kind of like about it is I feel like news organizations have really been dumbing themselves down and like, CNN reporting on what's trending on Twitter and stuff like that. And I feel like this is sort of the inverse of that, where the social network came first, and then internally the social network has gone, how can we, make real news out of this? Because they're not just regurgitating what was trending on Reddit the way that, I don't want to pick on CNN, but the way like a TV news show would. They're starting with this stuff on the social media site as like the raw material, but then doing actual original work with it and like, I don't know, confirming it, which is, go figure.
I mean, I'll be interested to see how that part works, with finding the stories on Reddit and then going forth and trying to confirm it and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll be really interested to see how
kind
quick
of standards are they going to keep.
Yeah, and how quick they're going to be able to turn it around too. Because if other people are just posting it verbatim, then it's going to take more time to interview people, verify it.
Yeah. When I was back when I was on the staff of the Vanderbilt newspaper, I went to a news conference. I went to like a newspaper conference, and one of the panels that I went to was called "All That Twitters Isn't Gold," and it was just talking about the difficulty with like trying to farm your stories from social media, because so much of it is crap, and then you have to play this weird game of like, is this crap or do I investigate it? But in the time I investigate it, does it become not timely, or do other people like break the story first? And it's just this kind of challenging balancing act. But I don't have a problem with them not having comments. I think that comments on the internet, first of all, they're not a right. Everyone's always like, oh, I have the right to comment on this. No, you don't. Shut up. Be silent.
Teresa has the right to comment on your right to comment.
They're also not the first site to experiment with that. What was it? Was it Wired? Who was it? Was it Wired or somebody else that last year just eliminated comments entirely?
I don't remember. So many sites. There's been a few sites.
I have no problem with it at all. And it's, if you can't comment on the story, then like Jason said, I mean, you can just link to the story and comment about it on Facebook and still annoy people who don't care about your opinion. Like it really does not upset me at all. I guess the other thing that really I find just sort of weird about it is the fact, I mean, it's curated, which is great, because that means, okay, if we're going with what we're saying, if I want to go to Reddit and see the stuff that's really important right now, I can go to Upvoted and know that they kind of scoured through everything and, separated the good stuff from the bad stuff and brought it to this site. I guess the part then that I'm asking is what value is there in then taking that experience and trying to then add on to the story? I mean, I guess you could just do the same thing by just having it be like, okay, this was curated and then verified. Okay, so I know it's true. Or curated and yeah, it's an interesting article, but we've found out that it's not true. I just don't see where how do you add to a written story? But it would be, okay, so this is actually completely off the wall, but in my mind, I guess it would be something like the Serial podcast where like, oh my gosh, hey, did you hear that there's this guy and he's convicted of murder and the details are really sketchy? Yeah, I heard this, and this. How can you flesh that out? Well, they fleshed it out pretty damn well in a very successful podcast. But that's because when you're talking about like an investigation like that, that's something, I mean, that's Jason's job.
I actually went to Upvoted real quick, and what I found were things like an article about food and wine pairings, and they pulled a couple especially detailed comments that people posted on Reddit about white wines, and then there was some original couple paragraphs of original reporting about wine and food pairings.
Teresa, why did you sign about white wine?
No, I'm not signing about white wine. I'm signing because food and wine pairings are actually crap. And you can have whatever wine you want with whatever food you want.
You hear that, internet? We're blowing expectations out of the water.
And it's just absolutely ridiculous.
You can pair white wine with Cheetos.
I've done it.
I'm just, to give an example, obviously I haven't taken a statistically significant sample, but it looks like they're all really short so far.
Well, and are they mostly like that? Just like really stupid things about like food pairing? Or is there anything about any kind of actual story? Because that's not a story.
Do you not want to go to it yourself?
The first one I see here is, can you get drunk in space? That's the headline.
Well, that's because all the people in space on the International Space Station are super jealous of all the people in Antarctica.
And I think that one was based on just something somebody asked at some point on Reddit. And so the Upvoted people did some research. So really and truly, what we've ended up with here...
This is way less interesting than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, a website that largely provides no value.
Yeah, none of these stories look like, elite, hard-hitting factual.
I guess the expectation I had was that this was going to be a website that curated Reddit for, to get... It's just... I don't understand. It's just Reddit without... the ability to upvote.
But it cleans up some of the stuff about Reddit. Like, if there's something interesting going on at Reddit, I don't always want to go there and look through like 500 comments. Like, I'd rather someone just distill it down to what I need to know what came about it. Like, if someone said, oh, this thing happened to me and I contacted their PR team and this is what they said to me, and then, I don't know, other people started investigating it somehow. This is a terrible example. But anyway, there's a bunch of pieces of information in there. I'd rather not scour through that. I'd rather someone just put that together and say, like, hey, this thing happened. This is what we found out after scouring the comments and interacting with this company ourselves, and so on and so forth.
I mean, that sounds like it would be useful.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know if
not
they're
what
actually
this
doing
is.
that.
But
Yeah.
how many people
Yeah.
that are interested in that, though, haven't already gotten that same news from like 3 different other sites by then?
I feel like people who love Reddit and scour Reddit constantly, this might be for them. I don't know.
I guess. I mean,
So here's another article based on a post from Reddit's Ask Science community posted the head-scratching question, how do we know that there is a Pluto-sized ball of solid iron that makes up Earth's inner core? And then it explains.
yeah, I guess I expected more than what it actually is. Like, there's also an article called "It Was a Terrible Week to Be a Gatorade Cooler." And here's a story.
Ooh, no, click on the shimmery liquor.
What?
There's apparently a new liquor that came out that is shimmering.
It looks like space.
That looks like space. It looks like nail polish is what it looks like.
I would. That,
Vinique, branded as America's first shimmery liqueur, is the best kept secret in the galaxy. It's $19, and it's a fusion of premium vodka, Moscato, and natural fruit flavor.
doesn't look. I know. I saw the picture and I was like, "What is this?" And now I'm watching it in the bottle.
Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is gonna do to your poop and your pee?
Make it glorious.
That's gonna make your insides like a Kesha party.
Well, anyway, I mean, upvoted, I think it has potential. It may not be great right now, but who knows? It could go somewhere. Someday.
I don't know what this says, but so far the longest article I found has been an interview with one of the women who likes to post her pictures to the naked parts of Reddit.
You just want to look at naked ladies, Jason.
It was on the homepage.
I didn't even know there was a naked part of Reddit.
And Travis is gone now.
We just lost
Bye,
Travis.
yeah.
I gotta go.
There were no naked photos in the article, Travis.
Oh,
Well,
fine, never mind.
So, I mean, some of it is like, it's almost like Reddit's company newsletter. I don't know. It's sort of
but I
interesting.
mean, you were right, Jason, because the fact is, if it turns out that what you read is something you want to comment on, what's to stop you from posting it to, Facebook, and then people can like it or dislike it?
Yeah, Justin, it's funny you brought that up because we're actually about to talk about. I can't believe you brought that up apropos of nothing.
Apropos of absolutely nothing. That's all I said. That's why I stopped talking when I finished my thought.
So speaking of apropos of absolutely nothing, it's not on the list, but when Terry brought up fan fiction, real quick, it reminded me.
Jason is writing a fan fiction.
We're not going through this again, Jason. You're not reading your fan fiction on the podcast.
Yes.
Damn
You're
it.
not allowed.
Oh, apparently Stephanie Meyer wrote a Twilight follow-up with the genders of everybody swapped, and it reads like bad fan fiction. The end. I learned about
Because
this
it's not
today,
like
and I had to
Twilight
bring it up.
vanilla reads like bad Twilight.
Well, first of all, yeah.
Okay,
I have
hold
lots
on.
of-
Everybody grab a seat. Grab a seat.
that's just
Grab a
alright.
seat, Teresa. Go on.
No. What's funniest to me about it is that, well, first of all, Twilight is just bad fan fiction generally. I mean, it's garbage. Sorry, everyone. But yeah, no, what's funny is that apparently Stephanie Meyer is having a lot of trouble selling this gender swapped version of Twilight because what's her name? EJ. I want to say E.B. White, but that's the person that wrote Charlotte's Web. EJ,
50
whatever.
Shades of Web.
Who wrote 50 Shades of Grey, which is not related to Charlotte's Web. Oh my
I
god.
think that largely depends on what you get out of Charlotte's
That'll
Web.
do, pig. That'll
That
do.
is so
That's not even Charlotte's Web. That's Babe. Get your fictional pig straight.
Get them with that. Okay, so EJ whatever is writing the
I think it's E.L. James.
E.L. James, that's what it is. She's writing the gender swapped version of 50 Shades of Grey. So Stephanie Meyer is having trouble like finding a publisher for the swapped Twilight. But what makes that even
I
more
thought it was already published.
She's having trouble. We read an article about this, that she's getting really frustrated because this gender swapped 50
she's
Shades of
being
Grey.
bogarted by the gender swapped 50 Shades of Grey, and 50 Shades of Grey was actually Twilight fan fiction that was written online, that a publisher was like, you could make this into a book. So they just like changed some names and took out the vampire-y stuff.
It's like less wolves and vampires, more BDSM.
Yeah, well, no, it was BDSM fan fiction, but it was just like adult fan fiction about Twilight, and so I think it is hilarious that the fan fictionized version is actually overtaking the terrible original.
The student has become the master.
Yes, exactly.
And I dislike that, so now we're back.
Wait, real quick, to keep on this train, why exactly does everyone seem to hate that she's doing this?
It's not that she's doing it. It's that, number one, it's like literally a rewrite of Twilight, but with the genders of all the characters swapped. Except all of the sexist... I've heard that all the sexist nonsense about, like, you know, Bella being all worthless and whatever was weirdly translated over, where, like, in the original Twilight, it was a male character worked on his car. In the new one, it is a female character had the car worked on.
No, I
Thanks,
thought
Stephanie
I
Meyer.
was under the impression that this was, I think it's called like Midnight Sun.
That's what I read about it.
And I thought that it was just Twilight told from Edward's perspective this time, as opposed to from Bella's perspective.
No,
Yeah, she just
Edward
swapped
is now like
genders.
Edith.
She probably just pulled it up in a Word document and hit like find
thing
and
is, like,
replace.
Jason, are you surprised that like her problems with like terrible sexism and also like racism?
I am not about to let the two of you talk about sexism.
And
We are moving
fetishism,
on.
like Native American fetishism, that like she didn't get over it after the first book.
Wait, Native American fetishism or what? Fetishism? How do you say that word?
Fetishism?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
What? That's a thing?
That is a thing, and it's in the book, definitely. There's weird stuff with the werewolf who's also
Well, I've never seen any good Native American porn. Please email us.
We still
us
need to know
links.
what you call your underwear.
Moving on to Facebook. So Facebook is changing a little bit. Yeah, anyone ever post anything on Facebook that you dislike? Probably not, but hey, they're adding this feature to
That's
Facebook.
not even why they're adding it. They're adding it because if you don't like things that other people post.
Yeah, that's what I said. Has anyone ever posted something you don't like?
Well, a while ago, Mark Zuckerberg said that they were gonna have a dislike button. But
this is not a dislike button.
Yeah,
but that's not what this is.
Yeah, you're not
No,
getting
no.
a dislike button.
But they are adding a dislike button along with other emojis that can more accurately express your emotions, like a love or...
But remember, none of those, you have the like button, but the closest thing you have to a dislike button is the sad emoji. There is no
Or
dislike.
Or the angry.
Or the angry emoji.
Well, these are being, I think, tested in, what is
Spain,
it, Ireland and
yeah,
Spain?
Ireland and
Oh, I should
Spain,
have
of all
asked my
places.
cousins. Why didn't I do that?
It's just weird.
dumb.
Why you would think
Yeah,
that of all the
God.
places to test it, the largest market is the United States. Why wouldn't you test
Yeah,
it here?
definitely
know.
ruin your interface in your largest market on something you're trying new.
Because
My
it's not like
Spanish
Facebook
cousins-
doesn't ruin their interface on a regular basis without testing it out first. This doesn't seem very different to me than the fact that they added that thing where it's like at the end of your Facebook status update, you can put feeling happy,
Oh, God, I hate
feeling
that.
sad, and nobody ever
What is this,
used
LiveJournal?
those. Yeah, nobody ever used any of those.
Well, also they made all those stickers for the IM, the Facebook
Oh,
Messenger.
yeah. Where you think you're about to send somebody like a small smiley emoji, and then you blow up their fucking screen with a giant goddamn smile face.
Yeah.
They have to know how happy you are.
Well, that's part of what I don't like about this. Like, when I say that I like something on Facebook, I like that it's sort of vague. Like, that, you know, I might agree with you, or I might just be courteously liking you.
She wants to make sure she keeps that
element
mysterious
of mystery.
Yeah, that all
Yeah.
women have when it's so like it's I'm fine. Well, is she fine? Is
I
she
like
not
the
fine?
sad
Sexist.
one because it's always awkward when someone's like,
My grandma died.
Someone died, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm gonna
Like-
like that, right?
You and 72 other people like this. status.
Finally,
Now
Grandma
that would be
Bernadette
awkward
is
if,
dead.
like, you know, 7480 sad to like.
Someone's
One
awkwardly still
haha.
liking.
Yeah, one haha, a couple yay.
It'll definitely be
one-
interesting to see
wow.
how big they make these icons and where they put them and how they designate
apparent-
and all that.
According to the article, it's when you click the word like, it pops up a little tray that has these different things. And I'm wondering if it's like, if I click on it, does it post it as a comment? Or does it just, like Jason said, where it's like 5 like, 4 love, 3 haha. Because that's going to that adds so much more.
It's definitely going to clog things up, yeah.
No, but even if it doesn't have the 5 like whatever, even if it is his comments, that's too much. This is stupid.
I just don't understand how they... we just want to...
decided.
Yeah, decided. Get rid of it, Facebook. Move on.
We just want a dislike button.
I don't want a dislike button.
Why?
You want to know how you know I don't like things? When I scroll past it and I don't like it.
Right.
But don't you want to tell people you don't like it?
They know. They can feel it.
Can they?
Do we really want to be so negative, though?
I don't know.
Really?
I mean,
Let's keep it positive. The internet's negative enough as is.
Yeah, but what if you want to express that kind of condolence to somebody who may have had someone pass away, but you don't necessarily want to comment on
What do you mean you don't want to comment? That's the most
So you
ridiculous
click
thing
the
I've ever heard.
dislike
It's
button?
kind of our conversation
Yeah.
from last week. If you don't care enough to make a real comment, then why are you even friends with them on Facebook?
Let's be
anyway?
honest. If your only interaction to reach out with them in their time of grief is to comment on Facebook, you really don't care that much
Right.
anyway. Give them a call.
I mean, to
or
be
something
fair,
else.
I've just been sending people photos of my thumbs down with the word dislike when that's my condolence card that I send to
Actually, a
people.
lot of people do that, though. Like, they just type dislike. I had a friend who had a situation at work that was crappy, where she was, like, definitely illegally fired. So a lot of people just typed the word dislike as their comment, which is super lazy because, like, say something about it. But people express their dislike. It's not that it's a problem that people have had. No one feels stifled.
Yes, internet commenters feel stifled in expressing their dislike of things.
I guess I just feel like saying why not keep the positive is just the same thing as those people creating the People app, where they believe that by doing it this way, they're ensuring that they think that they're ensuring that everybody's super happy and positive. But in actuality, I don't know. I mean, maybe giving people the option to just hit a dislike button, it probably won't, but maybe it would have like a psychological effect where, well, I could, trolls will be trolls, but maybe someone would be like, I could really dig in and write this huge comment and really go after this person. Or I can just make it known that I want people to know I disagree, but I don't want to come off as a troll. So I can just hit this dislike
So
button.
I'll just make this trolley face on the post.
And anybody who's willing to make a trolley comment is going to not be satisfied with just a simple dislike button.
Yeah, that's
It can serve other purposes too. Like if someone says, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?" And it can just distill it down to an easy yes or no rather than reading someone's.
But that's not yes or no. There's no because
straight up
go back
poll.
up, Justin. Yeah, because the thing is, like, what would you say? It would either be like
Should I
yay
get pizza
or
tonight?
sad, like tears.
Should I get pizza tonight? Angry.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, I'm going to have this for dinner. And then like, oh man, everyone disliked it. I'm going to have that instead.
That's the thing. They say later on, companies are going to
Internet
use
runs
this
your life.
to like offer up more relevant content. So you'll be like, yeah, I'm getting Taco Bell for dinner. And a bunch of people will be like, sad face. And then you'll be like, I'm getting Pizza Hut for dinner. And everyone makes a happy face. And then Taco Bell's going to be like, what are we doing wrong? We need to offer more relevant content.
Taco Bell's gonna have an existential crisis because
That was a
of
really
sad
bad
faces.
example because Taco Bell and Pizza Hut are owned by the same company. So they'll just be like, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
But,
you're gonna have diarrhea later.
yeah, either way.
That's
this
where the
is gonna
sad
end-
face happens.
So they just throw up the haha face.
That's what Facebook does, though. Every 6 months or so, they come out with some new feature that they think everybody wants because they did metrics and research, and people just write them in and tell them different stuff, and then it either goes away or it sticks around. This is nothing different.
No, I agree with you. And the thing is that for me, and maybe I feel like I'm Justin today. I'm like a super curmudgeon. But as far as I'm concerned, like Facebook was fine the way it was originally, where you like wrote
Facebook
on
was
people-
fine 10 Facebook changes ago.
Yeah, but
I
like
remember when you put your class schedule in.
yeah. Like I still remember like getting my Vanderbilt email
Yeah,
address.
you had to have a .edu.
Yeah, you had to have a
email.
.edu. Well, at first it was only certain universities. It wasn't even all of them. And then it was okay.
Just you super
If-
special.
No.
Like Stanford.
Now if you had
It's true though. It's true.
Yeah,
it
you
was
had
one university at a time.
See, now I
and
just feel
so-
really old because I had definitely been out of high school at least 7 years by the time Facebook came around.
Well, we
That's
couldn't.
because you are old.
I was in the like second wave of people who could get Facebook with their college email, because the class above me was the first time there was drama where like some people got into Facebook and they were like, "Ooh, I have Facebook," and other people were like, "My college doesn't have Facebook."
I guess maybe I went to just a state school, nothing special. I went to Kent State, and by the time I got my .edu email, Kent State was I got my .edu email from Kent State, and boom, right onto Facebook.
But then it wasn't just .edu, because it was college. Then they opened it to high school. Then
that
they
was
opened
after,
it,
but that was
way after.
That was later.
And then they opened it to the public, and then
and then madness.
Yeah, and then madness ensued, basically. And I just but I really, when I think about the original Facebook, where it was like you could just post on each other's walls, and there you
definitely can't do that now.
Well, no, all I'm saying is, I don't understand why we need all this other crap that Facebook keeps coming out with. It's fine.
Well, you got to
Chill
remember,
out.
that's the interesting thing. It was called Facebook because it was a book of faces. No, it was called Facebook because that was what it was.
Well,
when you logged in, you had your profile, and you could see other people's profile. So you see everybody's face. You could write on their wall.
And for a while, the only picture you could have was your profile.
And
that's true.
But then once they added the news feed. How much time do you really spend when you're on Facebook going to somebody's direct profile, as opposed to just seeing what's up on the news feed? And if they posted something, you comment on it, and that inadvertently ends up on their wall. But in actuality, you're not I can't remember the last time I was I'm going on Facebook and I'm going to look up Travis, and I'm going to go to Travis's
you're not good at Facebook
profile page.
No.
And I'm going to go through his profile, and I'm just going to look at some of his pictures.
You're a weirdo. No, Facebook stalking is a thing. But I remember getting the actual
why would you want
Facebook.
to be good? There was never a physical Facebook.
Yeah, there was for different universities. Vanderbilt University, when the class of 2009 was starting over the summer, you had to send in your picture and what you thought your major was going to be and your three interests.
But was that something that Vanderbilt was doing, or was that's
something that's something that universities were doing. That's why they got the name Facebook.
Yeah,
Facebook was the thing. So what I'm saying is I remember getting a physical Facebook, which I'm pretty sure they don't make anymore.
Did it have a dislike button?
I wish. Because also if you saw what my interests were, I was never interested in those things. I was just trying to sound cool.
Fan fiction.
Yeah, no, if it was honest, it would have been fan fiction. Irrelevant things.
Cats.
No, I never liked cats until recently. Anyway.
I don't know. Nobody's ever going to be happy when Facebook comes out with a new update, but we all end up just sort of assimilating into it, and there's just Facebook
we have
has
no
changed
choice
so
anymore.
much.
Well, we never did have a choice. It is what it is.
I mean, when it started, you had a choice. There were so few people using it but back then it was so new. But now everybody's life is so deeply embedded in Facebook that
it's beyond any of us.
Even the people who don't use Facebook, people hate those people, not because they don't use Facebook, but because they're so it's that one guy that you run into that's yeah, I don't have a TV. And it's come on.
I went to Stanford.
Yeah, I went to Stanford.
I don't have a TV. I don't eat fast food at the McDonald's with the marijuana capsules.
Yeah, it's it's the one person who doesn't listen to this podcast. But no, it's just one of those things where it's annoying, not because you don't use Facebook, but you're annoying because you feel the need to tell everybody, which is sort of just verbal Facebook.
Oh, you mean a conversation, Justin?
Yeah, I know. Verbal Facebook.
That's so low tech, man.
You're making me talk to you about your day.
This podcast is like verbal Facebook. Check us out.
That's what we're changing our name to. Implied Nerdity didn't catch. We're now verbal Facebook.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever been on Facebook and seen two people interacting with each other? That's what I'm going to do later with someone. Anyway, that's called verbal Facebook.
That sounds dirty.
Transition. Let's talk about voice actors.
I had a transition.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, I bet it was bad.
No, it was actually it was really good, and it was only 6.
Let's hear it.
It was 6 sentences.
Let's hear it.
All right.
I don't want to do it anymore.
1. That was a bad first sentence. I don't like this transition so far. I don't want to do it.
See, now you've built it up too much. I don't even want to bother.
Yeah, see, I don't want to do it anymore.
He didn't have one.
I did have one.
Yeah,
I absolutely
you're full of
had
crap.
one. No, I absolutely had one.
He just wanted to
'Cause
complain about having one.
Jared said he was going to talk to somebody later, and I was about to say, well, I hope it's not a voice actor in video games.
This is no.
Oh,
That's
Justin,
not a
stop.
great transition.
That's not good.
It's
It's
also
like-
way less than 6 sentences.
It wasn't
Angry.
really 6 sentences, Jason.
Why would you lie to me? The chairs don't lie. Or do they?
Or two. One of them went to Stanford.
So voice actors.
So voice actor.
SAG-AFTRA, which stands for Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Now, real quick, before I even get into this, this isn't an art. When we talk about this, let's not talk about like whether unions are good or bad. This is kind of just more about whether or not this particular deal for them is good or bad, or what we think of it overall. It's not really a.
But I had a whole diatribe about why I'm pro-union.
Well, save it for your Facebook. So SAG-AFTRA members have recently authorized the union to declare strike on voice acting negotiations. Now, just to be clear, negotiations. So, just to be clear, there's no strike yet, but the union is hoping that this leverage will push publishers to return to the negotiating table. So, what are they
the
actually?
negotiation table.
So, SAG-AFTRA, they recently authorized their national board to declare a strike on behalf of performers and interactive media. The support of the referendum was overwhelming, with 96.52% of members voting in favor. Basically, what they want to do is they want to point out that wait, hold on. I made notes on these and I can't read my own notes because it's such chicken scratch.
I forgot what the negotiations are about.
I was writing this on the way home, desperately trying to get caught up on everything. So
It was things like hazard pay for people that blow out their voices and stunt pay if there's motion capture work involved.
right, so some of the things listed here: more transparency about the roles and games for which actors will be recording lines, stunt pay especially for stressful or demanding recording sessions, stunt coordination on motion capture shoots, and probably the most contentious one was royalties from games that move over 2 million units. Per the current agreement, this would be a payment of $825.50 at every 2 million unit mark, with a total cap at $3,300.
I thought, like, here's the thing. When I read, because there's, if you look at the information about this on the SAG-AFTRA website, they have like a page that's what we stand for and what we stand to lose. And I was reading the, what we stand for, which is the performance bonuses and the stunt coordinator on performance capture, because you have a lot more games coming out now where, the person doing the voice, like the newest Splinter Cell game, the reason that they had to switch from Michael Ironside to the new guy that was doing the voice was because the voice actor also had to do the mocap for the character so that it looked the most realistic like a person when they transitioned it over into the digital character. Now, that and the transparency, which I think I didn't realize that was even a problem in the industry, where they were having a problem, I guess, where they weren't telling people what they were auditioning for until they showed up to audition, which is weird. But
sometimes they would come in, do the voice work, and never be told what it was for.
And I get why, because you always have people in the industry leaking new games, like on their LinkedIn profiles and stuff. So I get that. But I don't see how you can get a decent performance out of somebody if they don't know the name of the character, the name of the game, what kind of game it is, or anything.
They don't necessarily need to know all that stuff. They can just kind of know the motivation of the character and stuff without really getting into like, hey, this is for the next Uncharted.
Well, but what if you're like a background character too, who's just like, oh, get him?
They're probably doing more of that than being like the lead character.
But that's the thing. The one that I don't agree with, I guess, and maybe I'm just being mean, is the vocal stress one. Like needing a stunt, they should get stunt pay for vocally demanding roles.
Have you ever tried to talk for 8 hours straight?
I disagree with you because of this is a musical theater thing, but about vocal stress. But in the original cast of Rent, a lot of people who are in the original cast of Rent, their voices got destroyed because of the scream singing that they had to do. Because of like the way that Rent is written, if you sing it as though you're yelling, which is kind of how it was originally done, it can completely destroy your instrument. And so when you're putting that kind of stress on your voice, that's not a thing you can replace.
Especially when your voice is how you make money.
Right, exactly.
Maybe I just don't agree with that. They're saying they should get stunt pay, because actors don't get stunt pay unless they do their own stunts.
Right. So if you're doing your own vocal like if you're doing something that is dangerous to your person, you get paid. So if you're doing something that is dangerous to your voice and might get nodes, which you would have to get removed. So
but a lot of voice actors bring their own choices to the role. It's not like you come into the studio and they're like, okay, this character only screams.
Yes.
So
no, that's not necessarily true.
It's
like
a back and
when you're
forth.
low. Yeah, and plus when you're low on the totem pole, when you're not a big actor like Nolan North or Troy Baker, like you don't really get to choose how you want to do things or what you want to do. Sometimes it's just like, I need this job because I don't have anything else, so I got to go in here and scream.
Scream for 14 hours.
Yeah, just pretend to die for 14 hours.
Or who is it? What's his face that did Kratos in God of War? Just imagine screaming like that for 8 hours a day for weeks on end.
Yeah, that's going to wreck you.
I mean, he doesn't say a whole lot that has any depth, but he still does a fair amount of yelling.
I mean, I agree. Like, I actually think that one's legitimate. I think it makes sense for them to get stunt pay for that in that instance. The one I have a big problem with is the royalties one. I think that's the most ridiculous request of all of them.
Really? Because that I thought was one of the most reasonable ones. Because, like, if I was a music artist and you used my song and, I got paid for
totally different.
I got paid for making the album. I get royalties from every time the album sells. And if you use my song in another production, I get a royalty because you use my song. So if you use my voice to voice the character that you created, and then you sell something with that and you make a ton of money off of that, why do I only get paid one time, but you made billions of dollars off of my voice?
Well, but then, Justin, are you going to give the programmers points on the back end for that too?
But the programmers are getting paid. They get salary payments because they work for the company that made the game.
But they're not getting royal. No,
a lot more of them are contractors than you might realize.
Right.
Well, then I would say that they too should get some kind of kickback but that's the thing. They're not saying like, okay, if I do the voice of Lenny the Lion in this small indie game that's never going to take off, that every single time someone buys it on their phone for 99 cents, I want 22 of that 99 cents. They're saying if you sell 2 million, 4 million, 6 million, 8 million copies, at that point, you should get scaled payments for that. That I don't think is unreasonable. It would be, I would understand if it was
go
on.
How is it not unreasonable? Because no one is going to any video game because of a voice actor. Like when you go to a movie or you hear a song on, a soundtrack, you're going because of, you might like that artist. Like there's a movie coming out with Leonardo DiCaprio soon called The Revenant, which looks interesting regardless, but I like Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm going to see that regardless. I would be incredibly surprised if there's one person on this green earth who says that, oh, I'm going to buy this new Uncharted game. I don't like Uncharted,
are you going to want to buy another Uncharted game without Nolan North, though?
No, hold on a second.
Absolutely.
Hold on. I'm going to bring up 2 points here to challenge what Jared just said. First of all, point one, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Teresa does not play Call of Duty games. She was never interested in Call of Duty games. When I told her that Kevin Spacey was the main character in the game and that his character seemed very similar to his character on House of Cards, one of her first reactions was, you should get that game. I'm interested in seeing what that's like. So people do go to video games for the voice actor.
That's kind of a different thing. He's a major Hollywood actor, not a video game actor.
Right.
That notwithstanding.
So we never got the game.
But that notwithstanding, I'm not saying that people say, oh, well, Troy Baker did this character's voice in this game, I'm interested. But if a game is largely based, on the gameplay and the story is a performance. The performance is done by actors. And if the story does really well, like, for example, like The Walking Dead, which is largely the Walking Dead Telltale, all the Telltale games are largely based on the quality of the story and the performance offered up by the actors. I'm not going to be like, oh, the guy who did the voice of so-and-so in The Walking Dead is doing the voice in this game. I'm going to go check it out. But because of how well that performance was done, that game sold millions of copies.
Right, but you're just proving my point. No one's going there because of the voice actor's
But without
name. They're
them
going
there, then you don't have a game.
You're telling me there's no one else on this planet that can act the way they can? There absolutely is. They're not the best voice actor in the world. Nolan North is great, but no one's buying a game because of it.
And actually, when I said...
And if they are, it's like a minuscule... It's so tiny, it's not even worth
it may not be the sole decision, but it might be enough to get some people over the edge.
I would be highly skeptical of that.
Supporting what Travis just said, because I mentioned we were talking about Troy Baker, when he did the voice of the Joker in Batman Arkham Origins, everybody was super interested in hearing what his Joker would end up sounding like. It was one of the major...
But that's enthusiasts already.
Exactly. No, you're right. That's a very, very, very tiny market. If you look at the grand market, the mass market of everyone, if you went out to someone's like, if you just some random person, even though Nolan North is in Uncharted 4, but if you walked up to him and said, "What do you think about Nolan North not being in Uncharted 4?" They'd probably be like, "Who?" I guarantee most people who play these games have no idea who is voice acting.
I don't know. I wouldn't say most people. I would say for the bigger voice, no.
I think it's most people.
And also, why then?
Absolutely.
So, do you agree that people who act in commercials should get royalties every time that commercial runs? Nobody goes to watch commercials to see...
Well, commercials, you don't choose whether you're going to see it or not. I mean,
and the company doesn't make... No one makes money based on airing the commercial. You pay to air the commercial.
But what I'm saying is I have friends
people don't
who
buy
do...
the commercial from you.
No, of course not. But the people who are in a commercial... they get royalties every time that commercial airs. I have friends who have done commercial work, and a commercial, like a commercial will run for like 5 years or whatever, and then like another 5 years down the road it'll run once, and then they'll be like, oh hey, I just got a royalty check for that commercial. Hasn't run in forever. So why are people who do commercials that sell you OxyClean and lottery tickets, why are they entitled to royalties every time their commercial runs, even though you have no idea who they are and you'll never see them again? And you didn't, just because you didn't choose to see it. I mean, I think if they're entitled to it, voice actors who if you're going to say that these people, their instrument is so important to them that they deserve stunt pay because they had to yell a lot, then I think they just as much deserve royalties if that effort aided in the 8 million copies sold.
That doesn't make any logical sense. Like think about it right now. There's got to be actors out there that people specifically go to movies just to see. Why do they have actors make appearances and stupid things in movies where they're barely doing anything, but they're in there just to sell tickets? It happens. Like in video games, that doesn't happen for a reason because people don't care.
The time it happened, it was Peter Dinklage in Destiny. And it was Peter Dinklage in Destiny. So.
I think it probably happens more often than you might think. I mean, look at the Batman games. What's his face that was Batman, or like Mark Hamill for the Joker? I bet a lot of people bought those games because of those guys, whether they knew about the games or not.
I don't know. I have a really hard time believing.
Just because you have a hard time believing doesn't mean it isn't true.
Just because you think it's true doesn't mean it's true either. So,
well, I think Mark Hamill reprising his role as the Joker had to motivate at least some people.
I mean, that third Batman game didn't sell because it wasn't a great game, but also because it didn't have the same voice actors.
There's really no evidence to support that claim that people didn't buy that game because it didn't have the same voice actors. But Mark Hamill is like Kevin Spacey. He's a Hollywood actor first.
No, he's not. Not anymore.
He was. If you ask anyone who Mark Hamill was,
they're going to say Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. I agree.
He hasn't done Skywalker in 30 years.
It doesn't matter. He was iconic. He was an iconic screen actor.
I thought he was going to be Luke Skywalker again in the new one.
I mean, he is, but that's 30 years after the last time he was Luke Skywalker.
No,
I still don't think he can pull that kind of weight anymore.
I agree with Jared though, because I know that there are people that I like, friends that I have who are not into video games at all and not even like really aware about anything about video games, and they're talking about Mark Hamill.
And to be fair, Travis, I was obsessed with Batman the Animated Series, and it wasn't until much after I started watching it that I found out that Mark Hamill was the Joker, and I was shocked. I was like, wait, you're telling me Luke Skywalker does voice acting? Yeah. So, I mean, people know Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker first. Even
like, try to do an Sorry.
No, go on.
Well, I'm not saying
to do an experiment.
They don't know him as Luke Skywalker first.
No experiments.
Jason, it's experiment time.
What kind of experiment?
I was going to say, we do experiments on Ice Station Alpha.
No, I was going to say, try to do an experiment with like people you know who love video games, but they aren't enthusiasts in the way that we are. They're not reading about this stuff. They don't listen to podcasts about video games, but they play a lot of video games. Find out a series that they like, and ask them who their favorite non-Hollywood voice actor is. I guarantee you probably, if you ask like 50 people, you'd be lucky to find one
I agree.
who can name any voice actor.
I'm not saying they could name them or make it the deciding factor, but I'm sure it tips enough hats or like tips enough scales.
Metal Gear Solid sells incredibly well. Every version of Metal Gear Solid sells incredibly well. David Hayter didn't do the voice of Snake this time. Did not matter at all. Metal Gear Solid 5 sold more than any other Metal Gear
But
Solid.
that's also because they have Hideo Kojima behind them.
And who did the voice of Snake in the new game?
A Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, my point is, you're just proving my point, Justin. He's a Hollywood actor. That might sell games, yes, but traditional voice actors do not sell games.
That doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be paid for the fact that the game sold millions of copies.
It absolutely does. Like, I don't think they did enough work to warrant that. If anything, like just Travis said, programmers and artists, people who are in the trench, who are working 14 to 16-hour days during crunch time for 3+ months, they deserve it more than anything else.
See, my opinion is that if a game is selling that well, all of these people deserve.
You know
Right,
what,
that's
Jared?
the thing. I'm with Teresa.
In
I'm
a
not
perfect
saying
world, yeah.
that one way or the other. I'm not saying they don't deserve pay. If you have a quality actor that owns a role and people know him for that role, then sure, yeah, give him something on the back end. But like you said, Teresa, what about all those programmers, the sound people? They're crunching, and it's a shock to me that they don't unionize.
You know what, Jared? I have an experiment for you. I want you to go into the kitchen and get a bowl, fill it with water, put pepper in that water, and then squeeze dish soap into that water and watch what happens. And in the meantime, we're going to talk about the other side, the what we stand to lose side.
What?
You guys never did that experiment as a kid? Nobody?
What are we talking
I
about?
don't
What
know what's
the hell
happening.
are you talking about?
You guys don't know that I thought that
Next,
was...
you're going to be telling me about chemtrails or something. Justin. You've lost it.
No. Come on. You guys... Okay, now everybody has to... If you've never
Settle
done...
down, Alex Jones.
If you guys have never done that experiment, that's like a little kid science experiment. The
Was that
pepper...
just you and your mom? Was that your mom telling you it was
the
science?
the pepper...
Mix pepper and soap and have a bowl of peppery soap.
Why do you catch some peppery soap?
No.
Science!
The soap, when you put the dish soap in the bowl, the pepper runs away. Like, the pepper will scatter away from the soap.
Wait, who said that?
I've done it. Go do it.
No, who said what? That was the most magical...
That was me
What I've
climaxing
ever heard.
again.
That
Go
was
do it. I had one of those little, like, kid science kits, and that was an experiment.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's not like kitchen supplies your mother gave you to leave her alone? Like, have a bowl of water and some pepper and here, dish soap.
Dish soap.
Leave me alone.
Also some rat poison. Oh, maybe not.
Pepper dish soap. Google it. Pepper and soap experiment. Education.com.
While you're Googling that, let's
Motherfuckers.
talk about what you stand to lose.
Anyway, what we stand to lose. I think some of this is ridiculous because, like, fining you $2,500 if you're not attentive to the services for which you have been engaged.
Yeah, that's kind of crap.
Yeah, that's kind of not measurable, so it's ridiculous.
And the 50 to 100,000. How are they going to know to find your agent if they don't send you on a certain audition?
That's the other part I really had a problem with. Like, if they don't take a role for some reason, like any reason, then fining them, that's kind of crappy too.
Yeah, it just seems weird that if you don't show, because I get that the company can be like, hey, we'd like so-and-so to do this audition. But I mean, they have a right to say no, and the agent shouldn't be fined for that.
Right. There could be plenty of reasons why they don't choose to offer a role to a certain actor.
And that's a huge fine to impose on somebody. $50,000 to $100,000. That's like holding them ransom that you have to do these shitty roles.
Yeah, and there's some other ridiculous ones like the that motion capture and pitch performance capture shouldn't be covered on. We mentioned this before, but like there are some voice actors who show up just to do voice acting, and then you get there, it's like, okay, we need you to do mocap. It's like, no, they're not.
Yeah, like they don't
mocappers.
even tell them about it ahead of time.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous.
Now, let me just ask you guys this, because I don't want to, like Jason said, we've been on this topic for a while. But here's an interesting question. If they do decide to strike, what does that mean? Like, should we expect an influx of text-based games all of a sudden?
No, they'll just get different people to do them.
Scabs.
But no, if you read what it said, well, I guess the scabs don't care, but if you read the information, they say, if they start going to non-union people, then they won't be allowed to use union people. And if people cross the picket line, those people, if they ever want to get unionized, it will be harder for them to get into the union, if they decide to work during the strike. So if the major companies are going to be afraid to use voice actors for fear that they will, then they won't be allowed to use union actors after the strike is over, which they definitely don't want to set themselves up for that. And if people trying to get into the union are offered these big roles because the union is striking, but find out that if they do these big roles, they may not ever be able to join SAG-AFTRA, I think that this sets up a pretty interesting, if this goes through.
I just think these proposals need to be worked on both ends.
It's good. I feel like there haven't been a lot of high-profile labor disputes in a pretty long time. And so, we don't have to talk about whether unions are good or bad or anything. I think it's just a really interesting example of how they work. And, the tension between the workers, the voice actors who feel like they've been run roughshod over by the game companies. They feel underappreciated, using the collective power of the union to try to get better work conditions. Is that right? Should they be able to contract separately? That whatever. But it's.
I mean, it's good that it's being talked about because this isn't the first time they've brought this up before. And
right, and it is something that comes up a lot, how voice actors in games are pretty underappreciated.
Also, it'll be interesting to see, depending how this turns out, if this is enough to kind of, kickstart something in the other parts of the industry, too. Like maybe if this is successful in getting voice actors some, concessions or some of that stuff, maybe some of the programmers or other people or QA people won't be afraid to do something similar.
Yeah, and I think that they really need to. I think the biggest problem with this whole thing is they just, on both ends of it, they need to rework their proposals because I think. So obviously the other side is putting, requiring too much. The employers are just asking way too much. It's kind of ridiculous, but at the same time, I think there are some things that the people on SAG-AFTRA need to rethink.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. What I think is a terribly cool idea, but possibly very expensive, is that Microsoft recently announced Project X-Ray, which are wearable holograms for HoloLens. So recently Microsoft had their October 2015 event, and they demonstrated what's called Project X-Ray on stage, which is it enables you to enables wearable holograms and offers an exploration of mixed reality entertainment. So they said, quote, turn every room into your house into a personalized video game level. Where basically in the what we saw, the guy was fighting. I didn't watch the actual videos, but from these pictures, it looks like he's shooting something out of his hand onto something that broke out of the wall, some type of alien monster that he is fighting. Did anyone watch the video on that?
It's kind of like Google Glass plus augmented reality games.
This sort of is actually, it was what I wanted Pokemon Go to be. Well, actually, I don't want Pokemon Go to be anything, but what I imagine Pokemon Go would be cool if it was like if you had this mixed augmented reality where instead of just looking on your phone, you were physically looking out and seeing a thing. It seems neat.
So is this basically them just naming that HoloLens thing that they showed at E3?
I don't know. I wasn't very clear on that. I didn't have time to actually research this one. I was hoping someone else did.
I think Justin
that's
might
what
have.
It sounds like, because that's what they called it. They called it HoloLens at E3. So maybe this is just like an offshoot of that.
It does say that they announced Project X-Ray wearable holograms for HoloLens. So it seems like it's part of a larger HoloLens experience. That's the impression I get anyway.
Well, here's my question about it. Is it something that's going to be like a new platform, like, smartphones became a new platform for games, consoles or a platform, or is it going to be just a gimmick, something that seems like it's going to be cool, doesn't really go anywhere?
I mean, I think it's probably
you know, a couple interesting experiences.
I mean, they showed it off at E3. Where they showed HoloLens off at E3, and I've heard reports from different people in the gaming press who actually got to use it, and they say it's very legit, like the experience of HoloLens. Now, the hologram aspect of it, I don't know. I mean, we watched what they did at the Microsoft event. I don't know if they were using the same camera that they use at E3 to show off how HoloLens works, so I don't know how legitimate this hologram aspect of it is.
And I would also just say that, you know, the hologram aspect, it looks really cool, but you have to remember when you're looking at it, even what they were showing you at E3, they're showing it to you in like a pretty controlled environment. So it's like a wall that doesn't have anything on it, which is going to be super different than like the walls in your home. So,
because the way they're making it sound here is basically like an augmented reality version of the Power Glove that you wear with your HoloLens.
Oh.
And if that's the case and they make it work, that could be fucking rad.
Wait, so is it a glove?
Well, it looks in the picture more like a gun, but the one paragraph, where was it? I thought it said it was more like it's a quote unquote wearable hologram gauntlet. Is the term that they use.
Okay, yeah, so he is holding something.
So yeah, it's basically like a power glove.
Okay, has anybody talked about the fact that this doesn't take into account your play space at all?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was mentioned, because this guy, if this was in like my living room, I'd be shooting like zombies and tripping over the fucking coffee table.
Oh no, I didn't talk about that, but you would also be like shooting zombies next to a picture of our infant daughter, which might be sort of awkward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, that's great.
Well, that's the real horror of the zombie apocalypse.
Is you gotta keep your child safe, yeah. But no, it's just like, that's great that you can do this on stage in a fake living room, but in a real living room, when you have couches and tables and pets, what's going to keep you from...
It's like $3,000 for a Power Glove, though. Like, I think the people who are going to be buying it have big living rooms.
Fred Savage, perhaps?
Well, they said that was for the dev... They said that's the dev kit, so maybe that's the HoloLens and the gauntlet together?
Oh, that's right. That is the dev kit. That is not necessarily what it would cost for an end consumer.
But I don't necessarily think we should, like, stifle progress in this realm just because some people aren't going to have the living room to do it.
Oh, no, I mean, I think go for it, because especially even if it turns out that, like, oh, you have to have a certain play space, but, hey, we did these cool, legit hologram things, you know.
And the people that are going to be able to spend $3,000 for just a dev kit will have that dedicated space, I feel.
Yeah. No, I think that it could definitely lead to more cool stuff. And hey, you know, if the weird space proves to be a problem, if people are developing with it, like, they're not going to solve the problem unless they are developing and working on it. So.
I mean, this is great and all, but I find this like infinitely less impressive than the Minecraft demo at E3.
Well, they can be both used in conjunction. I think what's interesting is that you mentioned the whole space issue, which definitely could be a problem, but it's up to the developers what they make. So the developers could some way tie this into, you know, they're playing in your Xbox, like Halo or something like that, but they could somehow tie it into, in the real world, so to speak, you are then using the HoloLens to fight something in your room, but you could just be sitting
You're
down.
using a HoloLens to fight your cat.
Mom, go away. I'm fighting an alien in my room.
Yeah, like you could be shooting up into the sky, but like when you look up to your ceiling, it looks like you're looking out into the sky or something. They could somehow take you out of that, but you're still sitting still. You're not having to run around.
It's funny you would mention that, because I was just talking to someone the other day. They were lamenting the loss of couch co-op in games, and we were talking about how one of the reasons that went away, and obviously not a primary reason, I wouldn't even necessarily say like a tertiary reason, but like in shooters, you know, you always had that problem. You had that one friend in split screen shooters like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark who would screen watch,
right?
You know, and on the PS3, maybe like 4 years ago, when 3D TVs were just becoming a big deal, they came out with a pair of 3D glasses for the TV that allowed you to do split screen gaming, but it was programmed to the glasses.
It would only show you your half.
So like you'd both be looking at a full screen, but the person with player one's glasses on would only see player one, and the person with player two would only see player two, and it would be the whole screen. That's cool gaming technology, and it never amounted to anything, because
it was the only like good use of 3D technology in gaming.
Yeah, once 3D stopped taking off, that really didn't become a reality.
But that's also why I don't see things like this becoming all that big a deal. Like, I liked it with Minecraft in these like small, very specific uses, but like, you know, having this giant spider tank bust through your wall in sort of, but not really. First of all, it looks cool to the person with the glasses on, but to everyone else, you're going to look like a crazy tool.
Well, who cares? I mean, you can't worry about that stuff.
That's what VR is nowadays. Everybody that looks with a Vive or with a Oculus Rift on their head just looks like a fool anyway.
Yeah, you just have to get over that.
I saw
mean,
that
that's
Time magazine cover, so yeah, yes.
Palmer or Lucky Palmer,
Yeah,
according
Palmer.
to Jared.
I mean, we're finally just barely getting into the point where this VR stuff is getting really cool and making sense. So we're gonna eventually, before too long, actually get to the point where they're gonna figure out better ways to do it to take advantage of things like the space that you're in.
And Justin, I'm glad you brought up that co-op thing, because I just, like, as you were saying that, I started thinking about all these neat ideas that they could actually do with that if you had the money to buy multiple HoloLens to do this. But imagine you and a couple friends are sitting down. You could all be playing like a cooperative horror game using one TV, one system, and you know, you don't have to worry about bringing over multiple TVs or, you know, having multiple controllers.
Dude, bring your TV over.
Well, people used to do that.
LAN parties, but you know.
You could have, like, Nintendo was trying to get the asymmetrical gameplay thing going on the Wii U, and that didn't really pan out. But developers could do a lot of stuff with that if everyone had their own individual HoloLens and they're seeing different things. I think there's tons of possibilities for the HoloLens.
Like once developers start getting it working down well, they can figure out that kind of stuff and make it.
The hope is just that if it's costing the developers $3,000 for a dev kit, that I don't see that translating into easy affordability for the public.
Well, it's getting there. I mean, Oculus is kind of doing a lot of the footwork right now, and so is Valve.
But Oculus also, well, I mean, I was going to say Oculus has the backing of Facebook.
Oculus is also going to be very expensive.
HoloLens has the backing of, Oculus has the backing of Facebook, but Microsoft is, you know,
well,
Microsoft,
how much were the first dev kits for the Oculus? Does anybody remember?
They were a couple hundred.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they
they weren't
weren't-
anywhere near
yeah.
3,000.
No, but I mean, you're going to be spending at least as much as a current game console on the Oculus when it comes out. So,
Justin, did you use the Oculus at CSU or?
No, because we
right,
never got it.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember now.
We were going to get one at a local college to do some interesting gaming experiments, but it never panned out. The dev kit it didn't pan out, unfortunately. So I've yet to use it, but I do know that Cleveland State University had invested a lot of money.
Did they settle with
getting
a
dev
pepper
kit.
and soap experiment?
Yes, which is a thing. And it's also an app coming to the HoloLens.
yeah, you can minor in pepper and soap experiments. So let's we got two more stories to get through here. Let's get through these. Let's get this.
Jared's got stuff to do.
Let's get this
guys.
horrible
Well,
thing
they're
over
also
with.
kind of similar and boring.
Well, they're both from Microsoft's October 2015 event. The first one is about Microsoft expands their Windows 10 to Lumia phones, new Surface Book laptop. Did anyone look up anything on this particular thing?
I watched the video, which
and
was
I actually,
hilarious.
yeah, and I looked at a lot of the stuff they were talking about, and I got to tell you, what makes it most uncomfortable is just that Microsoft wants so badly to be Apple. It's like, and I'm not saying I don't want to start, you know, fanboy war, but like even the Surface Pro laptop, whatever, the Surface Book, whatever, it looks like a MacBook. Like every single bit of its design.
Oh, every laptop looks like a MacBook these days.
That's not even remotely true. That's not even
there
remotely
used to be
true.
a pretty big cosmetic difference between the two. But I mean, I felt like I agree with Justin because I watched the USA Today video about all of the stuff that was coming out with Microsoft, and from the products to the press conference, like to the way that people were dressed and presenting themselves, it just like it felt weirdly derivative in a way that made me uncomfortable and confused because like I don't think that Microsoft needs to be Apple because Microsoft is Microsoft and I'm okay with that.
Well, I mean, they're trying to ape Apple for obvious reasons. I mean, it's a good product, it's a good company, it makes a shit ton of money, so it doesn't surprise me that they're trying to do something
Microsoft
similar.
is still making more than Apple, though.
Yeah, I just don't think that like the CEO needs to dress like Steve Jobs. That's weird.
Yeah.
That was a weird
Is
moment.
it weird that the thing I was most interested about were the Microsoft-made laptops?
Well, that's the first time Microsoft has tried their hand at that. But I don't think there's...
Well, even the reporter was like, so, is there anything exciting or interesting about these laptops? Not really.
They're
and then he
really
just moved on.
good.
they're still running Windows, and they still have Internet Explorer as their primary...
It's Microsoft Edge. No more.
Oh, yeah, I
Internet
forgot.
Explorer.
Now it's Microsoft Edge. But I don't know. There's just so much. Like the Lumia phones are dying. They don't even have 3% market share really in the smartphone market. Nobody wants a Windows phone.
Well, I mean, they do okay as far as like cheap whatever phones, throwaway phones. What do you call them?
Yeah, but
Budget phones.
Burner phones.
No, like budget phones. I mean,
it's just.
I don't even think I even know anybody who owns a Windows phone.
Thing I think I liked the most about what they had to say recapping the event, first off, was that the CEO, Satya Nadella, even he knows that they're hurting. We want to get people from needing Windows to choosing Windows to loving Windows. We have to get people out of the needing Windows phase. People need Windows because the majority of computers used in the world run on Windows. Nobody is out there necessarily choosing Windows unless they already are embedded in it. And I don't know anybody really who goes out there and says, you know what I love?
Windows.
I love Windows.
Well, that's what they're trying to fix. I don't know.
I don't think
Windows 10
anything
is all right, and I think what they're trying to do by creating one really good operating system and putting it across all their devices to try to encourage you to, trying to create an ecosystem so people don't buy Windows phones now, but maybe if Cortana is awesome, my Windows 10 on my laptop is great, I have an Xbox, like, all right, maybe I'll get a, Windows phone because Windows 10 is great and I can use my phone as a computer in a pinch apparently now. Bam! Transition to the third story.
But we're not done with this story, so transition back. Boom.
We don't have to transition at all. They're all interrelated. I mean,
I know.
They are interrelated. No, but what I was going to say is like I'm cool with not loving Windows. I mean, like I use Windows and Microsoft products frequently, and like when I think back to those old Windows and Mac commercials with Justin Long and other guy,
John Hodgman,
sure. They're like I think there's a time and a place for like the boring guy in a suit. Like sometimes you need the boring guy in a suit, and that's okay. So be that, Microsoft. You do it so well.
I mean, I don't see any reason for them not to try to make one united platform. I mean,
except that that's the problem. Nobody really liked Windows. Was it Windows 8 that first did the
Metro? Yeah.
Yeah, people don't really like that because that's not an experience you need from a desktop computer. That's a streamlined experience like that. Probably I'd never used a Windows tablet, but it works well, I'm imagining, on a Windows tablet. You don't need that interface on a PC.
That was also when they started doing their
experience.
push toward touchscreens on full PCs too, though.
Yeah, I mean all the Windows laptops are all touchscreen.
But they kept that with Windows 10. I mean, I'm gonna full disclosure. I use Apple. I thought that they switched back to a regular desktop, but Metro was still available.
No, they changed it in 8.1.
They scaled that way back. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't forcing you to use it in 8.1, and then with 10, it's there if you want it, but you still have your start menu and stuff.
Well, it's really mostly like the live tiles in the start. I feel like.
Right.
Shrinking the Metro experience and putting it in the start menu made sense.
And I don't think we should knock, kind of going off what Jason said, I don't think we should knock them for trying to improve themselves. Like,
no.
They definitely ape some ideas from Apple, but if you look at their laptops, they don't look exactly like MacBooks. They definitely have their own unique...
And I mean, to be fair, the history of those two companies has been like two kids cheating off each other's homework for like
right.
50
Steve Jobs stole as much things from Microsoft. Yeah.
I'm looking at a picture of the Surface Book, and it's got the steel, the metal base for the keys. It's got, now some of this is just the natural building of a laptop, like the positioning of the trackpad, whatever, that's going to be where it is. But it's got that gray, same build. It's got the black bar around the monitor with a silver backing to that. It has the scissor, clamshell enclosure. It is literally...
It is very similar, yes. I'm not going to disagree with that. There are a lot of details about it that are similar. But again, that's one of those things where it's like, well, it works. People like it. People look at Apple products and say, that's quality.
It's like they're
What's wrong?
smart
I think that this as far as like laptops you can buy that will run Windows on them, it's possible that people are that this is going to put the Microsoft laptop on the map that's trying to compete with, all of the other laptop brands that run on PC platforms.
What do you guys think of the smart band that they're trying to introduce?
I mean, they've had smart bands before.
I didn't see that. Is that like a smartwatch?
Yeah, it's just the Microsoft band.
Well, it's not a smartwatch. It's a fitness watch.
Oh, like a Fitbit.
Microsoft Fitbit, yeah.
Yeah, just sort of, it got a lukewarm reaction.
Yeah, from us too. And then, all right, good ending. Strong point to end on. Good show, guys.
Real quick, Microsoft Continuum, another thing they showed, which is something that I think is actually pretty cool, is they're giving you the ability to hook up your phone to this device, which you can basically use your phone as its own full computer. So you don't need a full tower or anything else. You just hook up your phone to this device, then a keyboard, mouse, monitor, and boom, you got your whole computer right there.
So let me play out like my fantasy Star Trek future for you a little bit with this, because
Star Trek.
Well, hold on. So like the new Samsung Galaxy phones with the wireless plugless charging and whatever. I feel like that is going to be, I don't know, I felt for a long time that like wireless charging is sort of the next big thing with all this stuff we have that runs on batteries. So with wireless charging and wireless connections, I imagine a world where instead of having a computer at work, a computer at home, you have a monitor and a keyboard at work, and you put your phone on the desk and it charges and it becomes your everything, because I mean, that's what the Microsoft whatever, I just forgot what it's called, Continuum is trying to do with wires and a dongle. And I
mean, they kind of already have those. I mean, I've seen
10 years from now.
I've seen like wireless charging, like big old mats that you just put your entire laptop or tablet on.
I guess I just don't see how this is a benefit to anybody. Your phone is not going to operate like a computer, and having to carry around a laptop and a mouse and a monitor and this little tiny puck to plug it all into. Just get a goddamn laptop and
well, that's
stop
what I'm saying. I think the world the Continuum anticipates doesn't exist yet, where instead of
I don't think it's ever going to exist.
No, I think Jason's right.
I think Jason is right too, actually, yeah.
I don't know. I have a computer at work, I have a computer at home, and what if, how much money could we save? How much environmental impact could we save if it was just a monitor and a keyboard at work and I just had my smartphone?
Right. The Continuum's there. You go there, you plug it in. You go to an internet cafe or something, you go there, you hook it in. You're using, your own computer, which is your phone. Yeah, there's a lot of...
And then all it takes is one person being smart enough to develop a puck that looks just like it and can suck up the data from your phone and transmit it to somebody else, which would happen.
Or like they can already do over Wi-Fi.
Anything. Right. Wi-Fi is one of the most unsecure things out there. It is way more unsecure than a hardline thing. So, like, the argument about someone could hack this in some way is not even really worth discussing at some point. Because
plus
it's
phones are going to get so much more expensive, prohibitively expensive, if they start becoming personal.
Aren't they already? I don't know. I do most of my personal computing on my phone.
Your phone has the power. You have the power in your hands right now to change the world, to use your phone as a computer.
And they're already the price of full-size PCs. Like, hell, my Nexus 6 was $650 frickin' dollars.
I guarantee that most of the people here probably have a phone more powerful than their PC.
Yes.
It's possible.
Yeah, and what are you going to... It's not necessarily saying you need to play games or render video on it. It's just, internet browsing, which you can do on your phone already.
What I was going to say is that the thing that most people, what they use and that's why the Chromebook was successful. What most people use their computer for is just the same stuff you can do on your phone. Digging around on the internet, checking your email, some word processing, but nothing too intense. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's what we'll do. We'll all get Windows phones. We'll all get Continuum pucks, and we'll do the next podcast on Continuum computers.
Yeah, you hear that, Microsoft?
Yeah, I know. I was like, sponsor us, please.
Yeah, send us these devices, and we'll do a whole podcast from them, and we'll talk about how unimpressive they are.
No, Justin wanted to use it to make everything else computers. He was suggesting that your phone is a useless computer, so you could also use the device on, say, your cat.
What?
Oh, no. That's not at all what I said.
That is what you said.
No, I said, great. So now we have this puck that, yeah, you could plug anything into a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse and call it a computer, is what I said.
Actually, in fact, you can't do that.
No, what I said.
And Jared is a computer scientist.
Hey, you can do whatever you want and call it whatever you want. Words are made up, guys.
Exactly.
No, hold on.
I just plugged this potato in. It's a telescope.
What I said, because Teresa decided to just say that I said something crazy.
No, that is
what I said was
100%.
Plugging your phone into this puck, into a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse does not make it a computer, is what I was saying. I was like, I guess if you're going to say that makes it a computer, then you could plug anything into a monitor, keyboard, or mouse, like a cat, and call it a computer.
Justin, I feel like you fundamentally misunderstand what a computer is.
Why would you plug your phone into a cat? Hold on.
Your phone is already a computer. So you're plugging your computer into something that allows you to use different inputs that your computer phone wasn't already designed to use.
It's not computing, it's interface and interactivity and like the joining of those worlds, like the sharing of information.
I guess the clearer point I was trying to make is I don't think a smartphone, just because you plugged it into a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, is a computer.
But then what is a Chromebook a computer?
That's ridiculous.
Barely.
It is a computer.
A Chromebook is just a smartphone that they made look like a computer.
So, but you said barely, so that means it is a computer.
Not really. I mean, we've all seen.
I mean, we've tried. Justin's grandmother has a Chromebook.
Yeah.
It is a hot mess. But
not
it's
just
a
because
computer.
she's older and would have a hard time with any computer, but because it doesn't do a lot of the things that a basic computer should do.
Let's be clear on this. Smartphones are computers. Video game consoles are computers. Tablets
right.
are computers.
Right, exactly.
These are all already computers. All this
They're
is
just different iterations of computers.
Right.
Yes.
So like it's basically just taking what the Continuum is going to do. It's going to have its own, I'm guessing it's going to have its own versions of like Windows 10, and then it's going to use the processing power of the phone to
well, I don't even
do
know
all
if
the
it's that.
processes.
I mean, I think the phone has everything built in. I think the idea is, again, the one.
I don't think that's what it says at all.
System, the Windows 10 on your phone is eventually going to be indistinguishable from the Windows 10 on your PC. So,
I'm sure that's the
if we
goal,
just
yeah.
plug in a keyboard and a monitor to your phone. Bam, you have the form factor of your PC. You have the same Windows
like
10 on your phone.
Sharing of information and syncing of data.
Right. You don't need to sync it because it's all just on one device.
Right.
Yeah, and if it was just Windows 10 running on your phone's processor, then why would they say that, you can't open multiple windows at the same time?
Because it's not 100% yet.
It's a version of it. It might be a light version. I don't know. All I'm saying is like the Continuum might have a software version of Windows 10 built into it, and then it's using the processing power of your phone to run that.
This could end up being like a huge privacy boon if you think about it. You don't have to put nearly as much on the cloud if you only have one computer between everything.
Oh, they're not going to back away from the cloud.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of I don't remember what Apple calls it, but Apple, it's not your phone obviously that's doing this, but Apple has a computer. I can't remember what the heck it's called, but it's basically just it's like a little square that's maybe like 5 inches by 5 inches, and it's your whole computer, and all you need to use it is a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor.
It's called Thunder something.
It's the Mac Mini. That's what it's called. It's called the Mac Mini.
I don't know why I thought it was Thunder.
And it's just it literally is just this like 5 by 5 square that requires a power outlet, a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. And you can take it with you wherever you go and set it on your desk, and it takes up like no space, and it's the full processing power of a Mac, and you can take it with you wherever you go, and it's super portable. And they don't sell.
Well, no. First of all, it's not the full processing power of a full-size Mac. It's like a dumbed-down version of it. It's like basic stuff. Like you cannot do the same things you can do on a full-size Mac.
It basically sounds like a Chromebook without a screen or keyboard.
A Mac Mini, a 2014 Mac Mini has 4 gigs of RAM, a 500 gig hard drive, and a 1.4 gigahertz core processor, dual core processor. So it's basically the capabilities
Those
of a
are the
MacBook
standards
Air.
of almost 10 years ago. Those are very
But that's
old
what a basic
standards.
MacBook Air is running, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so
That's
it's
what
like
a
super
small-
basic and...
But that's what
a basic MacBook is running 1.4 dual core. I doubt that.
No, it's running quad core for like MacBook Air. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is the type of people that need a computer that's super portable are the people that are doing spreadsheets and Word documents and light web browsing and stuff like that. The people who need a computer that's going to do more than that aren't going to get the Continuum anyway.
Yeah, but they're a small group. They're people like me who build their own PCs. Like people who are building their own PCs, putting more powerful hardware in there. Yeah, but Jason's a professional who probably needs to use the internet constantly, and he says he does most of his stuff on the phone, right?
No, it's true. I mean, the stuff I do is computer intensive, but it's not processor intensive. It's very internet intensive. I'm checking criminal records online. I'm looking up, doing legal research online. It's a lot of databases. I'm doing some spreadsheets, a lot of word processing, but nothing that requires anything more than my phone can do.
But I mean, so that's great. But I'm just saying, like, if the Mac Mini would do the same thing that you would need it to do, but you wouldn't get a Mac Mini. So why would you?
Well, because I can't take the Mac Mini with me everywhere. My phone, I can use it in court. I can use it, the
Mac
to look
Mini,
up
you need
stuff.
a keyboard and all that other stuff.
You also need that for the Continuum.
But the idea with the Continuum
your phone already has a keyboard in it.
Right.
But
and actually, I was wrong. As far as size goes, it's 7.7 inches wide and 7.7 inches deep and 1.4 inches high. But it's still, relatively small. And Jared, just to also clarify, like the high-end model is 2.8. It's still dual core, but it's 2.8 gigahertz dual core i5. And it.
Oh God, the chairs. All right. I'll catch you.
No, you're not
later.
supposed to say all right afterwards.
Stop saying.
I'm dying. Post. All right. See you later.
All right, I better go.
Take it easy, guys.
See ya. So Jason dying or whatever happened is a good transition for us to talk about quickly some things that we experienced this week that we thought were cool that we want to bring up.
All right. First thing I got to bring up. You guys heard about the whole Kanye West in-app purchase battle, right?
No, I didn't.
No.
You didn't? So Kanye West tweeted this week, "Fuck any game company that puts in-app purchases on kids' games." Followed up with a tweet that says, "That makes no sense. We give the iPad to our child and every 5 minutes there's a new purchase." Followed up with a tweet that says, "If a game is made for a 2-year-old, just allow them to have fun and give the parents a break for Christ's sake."
That sounds like somebody who hasn't played a game in 10 years.
And literally was met with like the ridicule of everybody and tons of parents tweeting back and being like, "Kanye, man, you got to turn on the parental controls." It's like literally everybody was just like, "Yeah, just turn on the parental controls." And you could also just be a good parent and make sure your kid isn't downloading games that have lots of in-app purchases. But I just love that. Fuck any game company that puts in-app purchases on kids' games.
Screw them. It's their fault that I can't watch my kid.
Says Kanye West and everyone else who hates Candy Crush.
All I know is that I'm really hoping that Josh Groban sings these Kanye West tweets as a follow-up to his breakout hit. Josh Groban sings Kanye West tweets. If you haven't seen it, you must Google it.
It's pretty awesome. I know, Teresa, you said you had that one story you wanted to talk about. Or no, you had 2 stories.
No, I had one story, and then the other one was a non-story.
Please tell me that the non-story was the one about the Syrian refugees.
Oh, no, I forgot about the Syrian refugees.
Because I was like, if you're about to push them to the side for the story that I know you're about to share, then you really don't care about Syrian refugees.
No, I was going to talk about... did you guys hear about this Renoir protest that's going on in Boston?
Nope. Well, nope.
Nope.
Okay.
No one cares.
Are you guys aware that there is an artist named Renoir?
I am now.
Okay, so he was an impressionist, and he did normal impressionisty kind of paintings. But his portraits, for example, were maybe not super refined, but he's considered one of the masters. And there's this guy that's staging this massive protest out in Boston by the art museum to try to get Renoir removed on the basis that he was a shitty artist. And so he's picketing outside. And he started an Instagram about how Renoir sucks that actually interacted with Renoir's great-granddaughter, who was like, I mean, you might think Renoir sucks, but when your grandfather sells a painting for $1.8 million, then you can come talk to me about your opinion. And the latest thing that's happened is that the leader of the Renoir sucks movement has challenged a critic to a duel to the death.
This just got cool.
How big is this movement? Is it just 6 people?
About the size of a bowel movement.
No, I mean, there's people who are, participating on the Instagram, and they're like, there are people who are picketing, because we can't get people to mobilize on other social movements, but Renoir sucking, that's where we draw the fucking line. We will die on that hill. But yeah, so he was saying that, like, Renoir is terrible, so,
I always thought it was Renoir.
That's if you don't know French.
That's if you're an idiot, Justin.
Right.
Which you are.
He was saying
cats are computers, so fuck you.
That just like if we have crappy Renoir in the museum, then and we're not letting him fade away, then dueling laws shouldn't fade away. So let's fucking duel in the Boston Common.
That sounds kind of like the logic that you'd find on your typical internet site.
Is this guy's first name Pierre?
Hold on, I don't think so.
Are you talking about Renoir?
Renoir's first name is Pierre, yes.
Okay, because I'm looking up his stuff. He's pretty good. I don't know why.
If you look at, like, his portraits, because the thing is, like I said, his impressionist landscapes are, like, fine, but if you look up at some of his portraits, like, he's maybe not the best at proportional arms.
Is he the guy that did the thing of the people in the park from Ferris Bueller?
Okay, maybe that's not the best, but whatever.
Maybe that's not the best.
Is that him? You guys know the picture I'm talking about? Ferris Bueller, the people in the park, and they're staring.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
Justin, can you stop talking right now?
Yeah, I'm just over here doing my soap and pepper
I know,
experiment,
I was like,
watching Ferris Bueller.
He's gonna wake up the baby with the soap and pepper business again.
Anything else? What else? Other stories this week? We were talking about that game. I don't know, Jared, if you heard us talking about it.
Keep talking and no one blows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game...
That sounds really cool.
Is really cool. I played a little bit of it a while ago, but you can play it with VR, without VR. So if you have people with two PCs, if there's two of you, two PCs, you can play it together. If you have VR headset, use that too. But it's pretty neat. Yeah, one person is basically just describing... They have a manual, and the other person has this bomb, and the person with the manual has to describe all these really weird symbols and this order in which this person has to press buttons or turn things off or on, and you have to do it within a certain time limit, or the bomb goes off. It goes off, and it's pretty neat.
And it sounds a lot like it's borrowing from Space Team, but it still seems pretty cool.
I wouldn't really say that. Well, I guess, yeah, to some extent, yes. But it's a little bit more difficult in so much
It seems like a Space Team with a more defined goal in mind.
Right, and it's a little bit tougher because you're not just throwing out, like, hit the splattery cat or whatever. You're just, in this one, it's like, okay, see the weird symbol that looks like this thing? You have to turn it clockwise by 3/4 or something like that. It's really neat, though. And it's cheap. It's like $10 or less on Steam.
But you have to know people who have it to play it.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's you have to play with, like, friends. It's not just get matched up with somebody.
It sounds like a good game that would be translate to mobile really well.
Yeah, I bet it probably would. Real quick, Travis and I have played the Star Wars Battlefront beta. I'm playing on PC.
I have not. I just downloaded it.
Okay. I have played the Star Wars Battlefront beta. I'm playing on PC.
It was Jason.
Yeah. Oh, it was Jason. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, Jason did have a lot of really excellent things to say about it. So.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm not a serious multiplayer person. I got, like, the only game that I seriously got into was Halo. I was very competitive about that back in the day, but I don't really care for multiplayer games in general. But the Battlefield series has always been a really great series and has a lot of interesting and emergent gameplay. I know that gets overused, but it's very true in the Battlefield series. And this is awesome. This is basically just Battlefield with Star Wars, but they do a very good job of it. It doesn't feel like Call of Duty Star Wars. It still feels unique and different from all the other shooters that are out there today. And of course, with all the cool Battlefront stuff where you're seeing AT-ATs and AT-STs and you're flying in TIE fighters and X-Wings and Y-Wings and A-Wings and everything. It's awesome.
Everything I've seen about it, like I said, just seems really cool.
The beta's free.
I'm very excited.
By the way, so if you don't have it, you should get it soon and check it out. Even if you don't think you might be interested in it, just get it. It's free. It's like 7 gigs to download.
I feel like I should give a shout out to Yoshi's Woolly World. It comes out this Friday, I think, for the Wii U, and I'm really excited about it because Yarn Yoshi is goddamn adorable.
Are you gonna get it for the amiibo?
Yes, I ordered the special edition package with the amiibo. Not because I want an amiibo or I care about an amiibo, but I just want a Yarn Yoshi.
So you do want the amiibo?
I want the amiibo, but not for its amiibo-ness. I just want it because I want a Yarn Yoshi to sit next to my Drippy and my Totoro.
Yeah, I'm having a really hard time not pre-ordering. I don't even have a Wii U, and I'm having a hard time not pre-ordering it because I want that green Yarn Yoshi. The blue and the pink one don't interest me at all,
I actually
want
ended
the
up
green
with
one.
2 pre-orders, so if you want to send me some money, I'll keep my second pre-order.
Wait, so you have to buy it 3 times to get each color?
No.
No.
Don't.
The blue and the pink Yarn Yoshi amiibos can be bought as individual amiibos. The green Yarn Yoshi amiibo only comes with the special edition of the game. And Jared, wrap it up.
Hey everyone, you listened to episode 9 of The Grown Up Geek.
I'm sorry.
You have listened to episode 9 of Implied Nerdity. You can check us out at thegrownupgeek.com. We're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. You can find all that info at thegrownupgeek.com. If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, why don't you take a little bit of time, maybe go on there, give us a rating, 1 to 5 stars, give us a little bit of feedback. That'd be great. We're also on Spreaker. If you want to get on there and follow us, that would be fantastic. That helps us out a lot as well. If you have any questions or comments, any thoughts on the podcast, you can email us, podcast@thegrownupgeek.com. Something we want to start doing this week is incorporate a question of the week. Basically, we're going to ask you about something, and you email. It's pretty high-level concept, but you're going to ask us, we're going to ask you something.
What?
And you're going to send us an email, and then we're going to read some of your emails on the podcast to see what you think about it. Like, for example, I think a good one to start off with here was the whole SAG-AFTRA thing that's going on. It'd be cool to get your thoughts on that, or maybe the Microsoft thing. I don't know.
Let's do the SAG-AFTRA thing, because that's the big debate. Do you think that voice actors should get royalties for their work?
Yeah. Question of the week: should they get royalties? Let us know. Podcast@thegrownupgeek.com. There was also a book club that we have called Spine Breakers. We are currently reading the book Crooked,
which is so good.
Well, now you don't have to listen to the book podcast.
No, I'm
Way to
encouraging
spoil
people.
it, Teresa. Jeez.
No, I'm encouraging people to read the book. That join the podcast, join the bookcast this month. It's really
Teresa
good.
knows nothing about the bookcast.
Whatever. I made an awesome theme song for the bookcast. You can shut it.
It was great. Maybe you'll get to hear that at some point, but
Probably not.
we would love it if you read along with us, and then you could email us, also podcast@thegrownupgeek.com, and let us know your thoughts on Crooked, and we'll talk about it, or Crooked, whatever, and we'll talk about it on the actual podcast. When is that happening, Justin?
We do it at the end of the month, so you're going to want to get us your questions. I guess this month on the 28th or the 29th, I would say the 28th at the latest. Any questions, comments, thoughts that you had about the book for us to incorporate into the podcast, because we're going to try to record that hopefully either right before or on Halloween, and then that'll come out the first of the month of the following month. So that'll be November 1st that'll come out, and then that podcast will have in it the reveal of the book that we'll be reading for November. So, listen all the way to the end or skip to the end, doesn't matter. You'll be able to find out what we're reading for November. But I promise if you listen all the way to the end, it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. Anyone have anything else to add to the end of this podcast?
Going once, going twice.
Cut it.
Whatever. I made an awesome theme song for the bookcast. You can shut it. Quítame that.